The defense will likely be remade as well. News this week, Jim Schwartz hired as the defensive coordinator. How do you, and I know you've dealt with this on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast, and you've also written about it. How do you think he impacts Myles Garrett, and what do you think, how do you think he fits, and this defense will be fit around him?
You know, I think the biggest impact for Myles is typically Jim Schwartz has put his stars up front in a position to rush the passer. That's kind of the whole idea of this wide nine scheme that he has. Now, he hasn't been a defensive coordinator in about 3 seasons, so we don't know for sure, obviously, that he's going to run that wide nine, but we can kind of infer that. And if he does, it's going to allow Myles Garrett to get more one-on-one matchups, to start out a little bit further than he has normally throughout his career. And that in turn is going to let him build up more speed, in theory, create more one-on-one matchups, and be able to get to quarterbacks more quickly. So I think in a perfect world, if Jim Schwartz brings that same scheme to Cleveland, Myles Garrett should be getting more sacks. And, you know, he said he's going to hold him to a high standard, and there's already a high standard set for Myles Garrett with 16 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. But I would expect that number to climb if this scheme looks like what we think it's going to look like.
Do you think the fit with Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator into this Browns defensive structure, or the talent they have at least, do you think it's a good fit?
Well, I think it's interesting. Like, I do think it's a good fit. I do think he was the safe but smart hire. I know my colleague Terry Pluto wrote a column about that because Jim Schwartz has had so much success with turning around defenses throughout his career, especially with run defense. But I do think what's so interesting about the system, if you're creating more one-on-one matchups for your edge rushers, it puts a lot more pressure on your defensive tackles and your interior defensive linemen. Because they're going to have to go against opposing offensive tackles a lot more. So I'm really curious to kind of see. I think the Browns need some help on their D-line. I think they might need 1 or 2 more edge rushers. I think they're going to need to go and at least get one big, like, potentially game-changing veteran defensive tackle, because those guys have more responsibility in this system.
Yeah, those will be all things to keep an eye on as free agency unfolds. Could be trades and the like as well.